Don't just listen, transform. Apply Hill's teachings today with the first link in the description.
7 days. That is all it takes to change the course of a man's life. 7 days of discipline, 7 days of obedience, 7 days of repeating a single ritual that reshapes the way you think, speak, and act. Do it, and you will not recognize yourself 1 week from now. Refuse, and you will be standing in the same shadows, trapped in the same habits, chained to the same life, watching others pass you by. You think it cannot be so simple? That is because you have been taught to believe change must take years, that success is reserved for the chosen few, that fortune bends only to chance. But I tell you the truth, destiny bends to repetition. 7 days of commanding your own mind with definiteness can do more than 7 years of drifting without purpose. Picture this. In 1 week, you awaken with fire in your chest. Doubt is silent, fear is weakened, and every thought marches in one direction. The people around you notice before you speak. Your step is firmer, your voice steadier, your presence magnetic. Opportunities seem to appear, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You look in the mirror and see a man who commands himself and therefore commands his circumstances. Now picture the opposite. 7 days pass and you never committed. You listened, but you did not apply. You told yourself you would begin tomorrow, and tomorrow never came. Doubt still whispers. Fear still paralyzes. You walk into rooms unnoticed, your ideas unheard, your potential unclaimed. And as the days turn to months, and the months into years, you become one of those men who look back and say, "If only I had started then." Do not deceive yourself. This is not a small matter. The thoughts you repeat daily are already writing your destiny. If you leave them undirected, they will continue to write poverty, hesitation, mediocrity, regret. If you direct them with definiteness, they will write confidence, wealth, opportunity, and freedom. The pen is in your hand, and every day you delay, you hand it back to fear. Carnegie repeated his aim until his mind accepted it as law, and steel obeyed him. Edison repeated his purpose until even 10,000 failures could not erase it, and light was born. Ford repeated his vision of an automobile for the masses until ridicule itself bent into silence, and the world rolled upon wheels. Do you imagine they achieved without self-command? No. They forged their fortunes by the words they drilled into their own minds, and now the choice is before you. 7 days. Will you give yourself that trial? Will you test this law? If you do, you will discover strength you thought you lacked, faith you thought was impossible, and doors you thought were closed. If you refuse, then know this: nothing changes. You will drift another week, another month, another year, until your last chance is gone. Hear me well. The difference between the man who wins and the man who wastes is not luck. It is not education. It is not even talent. It is the words he speaks to himself daily. You cannot rise higher than your own command. You cannot outwork the chains of fear if you repeat fear. You cannot build a fortune with the language of doubt. But if you obey this ritual for 7 days, you will begin to write a new law upon your mind. 7 days. That is the test. That is the turning point. And before I am finished, you will know exactly how to do it. Repetition is the hammer that engraves thought into the subconscious. Every time you repeat a phrase, whether spoken aloud or silently, you strike another blow upon the anvil of your mind. One blow changes little, but constant striking shapes steel. So it is with thought. Repetition turns words into belief, and belief into destiny. Most men do not know this. They think their fate is written by chance, when in truth it is written by the words they repeat daily. They whisper fear when they awake. They speak doubt when they fail. They excuse themselves with alibis when opportunities come. Without knowing it, they rehearse their own defeat until failure becomes habit. You may ask why fortune has escaped you. Look first to your own words. Have you not said, I cannot? It is too late. I am unlucky. Each phrase repeated burrowed into your subconscious until it became law. The subconscious does not argue, it does not reason, it obeys. And if you repeat weakness, it accepts weakness as your portion. I tell you the truth. Self-talk is the secret weapon that divides the drifting from the decisive. The drifter allows fear, doubt, and excuses to form his language. The decisive man commands his mind with definiteness, repeating faith, courage, and persistence until they become his nature. Both use repetition, one for defeat, the other for triumph. Consider R.U. Darby. He and his uncle struck a vein of gold. They dug eagerly until the vein disappeared. They tried again, but quit. They sold their equipment to a junk dealer. That man persisted and discovered the gold was only 3 feet away. Darby repeated hesitation more than persistence. For that, he lost millions to a man who refused to stop. Darby later redeemed himself in insurance, where he adopted persistence as his creed. Each time a prospect refused him, he said, I stopped 3 feet from gold once. I will not stop again. His new words became his new law, and his fortune followed. One man, 2 destinies. The difference was the words he repeated to himself. Affirm this with me now. I speak success into my mind daily. I repeat confidence, courage, and wealth until they are mine. Say it again and again until the sound of it drives out fear. Repeat it until the subconscious accepts it as fact. For repetition is the seed of faith, and faith is the seed of riches. Why does repetition hold such power? Because the subconscious cannot distinguish between truth and falsehood. It accepts what is repeated with feeling. If you say, I am weak with conviction, it becomes true. If you say, I am strong with conviction, it becomes true. The subconscious is the soil. Repetition is the planting. Belief is the harvest. Men fail not from lack of opportunity, but from repeating the wrong words daily. They repeat excuses until they believe them. They repeat doubts until courage dies. They repeat complaints until poverty becomes permanent. Success is not denied them. They deny it themselves through the language of defeat. Words are the chains that hold them captive. I say to you now, choose your words with care. Guard them as you would guard gold, for they are worth more than gold. Speak only what you desire to become. Speak faith, courage, persistence, definiteness. Speak your chief aim until it becomes your nature. And refuse to allow the language of fear to dwell within your lips. This is the foundation of the 7-day test. For 7 days you will speak only the language of success. You will repeat affirmations of courage and definiteness morning and night. You will guard your tongue from fear, doubt, and excuses. In 7 days, you will feel the shift begin, for repetition will have begun its silent work upon your subconscious. Do not despise small beginnings. A seed planted today will become a tree tomorrow. A single word spoken with faith will grow into a habit, and a habit will grow into character. Destiny is nothing more than character repeated until life itself bends. And character is nothing more than words planted in the soil of the subconscious. Affirm once more, I speak success into my mind daily. I repeat confidence, courage, and wealth until they are mine. Repeat it when you rise. Repeat it when you lie down. Repeat it when fear whispers. Repeat it until your mind accepts nothing else. For repetition is the law by which you rise or by which you perish. I warn you, if you neglect this law, it will not neglect you. You are already repeating something each day. If it is not faith, it is fear. If it is not courage, it is doubt. If it is not definiteness, it is drifting. There is no neutrality. The question is not whether you repeat, but what you repeat. The door of destiny swings upon this hinge. Choose well. For 7 days, seize the weapon of repetition. Use it deliberately. And when you taste the first fruits of self-command, you will know why every millionaire, every leader, every man of destiny has mastered this secret. They spoke themselves into greatness before the world ever named them great. Every spoken word is an order to the subconscious. Whether whispered in silence or spoken aloud, each word is a command written upon the hidden mind. The subconscious does not question, it does not reason, it does not weigh evidence, it accepts and obeys. You may lie to men and escape, but you cannot lie to your subconscious, for it takes all you say as law. The drifting man speaks words of surrender. He mutters, "I cannot." It is too late. I was not born lucky. The world is against me. He repeats these phrases so often that they become his truth. He is poor not because riches are denied him, but because he commands poverty with his own tongue. His subconscious accepts his defeat and builds a life to match it. The decisive man speaks with authority. He says, "I will, I demand, I command." He declares his definite chief aim until it burns in his heart and orders his actions. He does not wait for others to grant permission. He gives himself permission by the words he speaks. His subconscious accepts those commands and shapes his world accordingly. Carnegie demanded definiteness from every man who worked for him. He instructed them to repeat their aims until instinct guided their actions without hesitation. His steel empire was not built by drifting clerks, but by men who spoke with authority. They commanded themselves, and in obeying their own words, they built fortunes that spanned continents. Thomas Edison was called a failure thousands of times. Critics said he was wasting his life, chasing foolish dreams. But his self-talk was stronger than their ridicule. He repeated belief into his mind daily. "I will succeed. I will find the way. I will not quit." And his subconscious, obedient to those commands, drove him to persist until light was born. Henry Ford was laughed at when he declared he would build an automobile for the common man. Experts scoffed, competitors sneered, and the public mocked him. But Ford ignored them. His self-talk was not ridicule, but command. He said, "I will build it. I will make it affordable. I will change the world." His mind obeyed, his actions followed, and the world rode on wheels. Affirm with me now, "I am a man of faith. I command riches. I control my mind." Say it with authority. Do not whisper it as a timid suggestion, but speak it as law. For every time you declare it, you are striking your subconscious with the hammer of definiteness. And once it accepts the command, it will move mountains to obey you. Words of weakness are a silent poison. They corrode the will, weaken the imagination, and enslave the subconscious. A man may possess talent, knowledge, and opportunity, yet fail because his own words betray him. He says, "I cannot," and he cannot. He says, "It is impossible," and it becomes so. He says, "I will try," and trying becomes his grave. Do you see now why the devil confessed that he captures men through their thoughts? He does not need chains of iron, for men bind themselves with chains of words. He whispers fear, and they repeat it until it becomes their creed. He whispers doubt, and they affirm it until it becomes their law. He whispers hesitation, and they call it wisdom. But faith, spoken daily, casts the devil out. Say again, "I am a man of faith. I command riches. I control my mind." Each word is a sword that cuts through fear. Each declaration weakens the grip of doubt. Each repetition strengthens your will. The devil flees from such words, for he cannot enslave a mind that commands itself. Write down your new words. Do not trust them to memory. Place them upon paper clear and definite. Read them morning and night. Speak them aloud with emotion. For words read are seeds. Words spoken are commands. Words repeated with faith are laws. You cannot drift if you speak definiteness daily, for the subconscious will drag you forward. Remember this, the subconscious is the silent builder of destiny. It takes orders without question. If you feed it weakness, it builds weakness. If you feed it strength, it builds strength. If you feed it poverty, it builds poverty. If you feed it riches, it builds riches. It is a servant that cannot disobey. The master is your tongue. Carnegie knew this when he selected his allies. He listened not only to their knowledge, but to their words. He knew a man who speaks doubt infects the subconscious of others. That is why he surrounded himself with men who repeated faith, definiteness, and courage. Their combined language created an atmosphere of power that produced steel, wealth, and empires. You cannot afford careless words. Every time you say, "I am tired, I am unlucky, I am weak," you are striking your subconscious with a command it must obey. Every time you say, "I am strong, I am confident, I am destined for riches," you are striking it with commands that will create wealth and confidence. Your life is the echo of your words. Test this law for 7 days. Replace every word of doubt with faith. Replace every complaint with affirmation. Replace every hesitation with decision. For 7 days, give your subconscious only the commands you desire it to obey. Watch how your thoughts shift, how your courage grows, how your actions follow. In a week, you will feel the change. Affirm once more, "I am a man of faith. I command riches. I control my mind." Say it as though infinite intelligence itself were listening. Say it as though your unborn victories were waiting for your command. Say it until your heart believes, until your subconscious obeys, until your actions prove it. This is not suggestion. It is law. Self-talk is the secret weapon of every millionaire. They did not rise by chance. They rose by commanding themselves daily, by repeating definiteness until it became their nature. Carnegie repeated his aims. Edison repeated belief. Ford repeated vision. Lincoln repeated his purpose. Rockefeller repeated his dominion. Each commanded himself, and the world obeyed. Now the same weapon lies in your hand. Use it. For 7 days, test it. Write your words, speak them, repeat them. Do not drift, do not excuse, do not delay. Your subconscious is waiting for commands, and it will build whatever you order. Speak riches, and it will build riches. Speak defeat, and it will build defeat. The choice is yours. 7 days. That is the test. Not a lifetime, not a year, not even a month. Just 7 days in which you take possession of your own mind and prove that destiny obeys repetition. The weak will laugh at this, saying, "How can so short a time change a life?" But I tell you, 7 days of definiteness will do more than 70 years of drifting. The trial is simple. Twice daily, once upon rising and once before sleep, you will speak aloud the affirmations you have chosen. You will repeat them with emotion, as though you already possess what you declare. For 7 days, you will not miss once, not for weariness, not for excuse, not for any reason. Obedience to this law is the price of proof. Do not say, "I will begin tomorrow." Begin tonight. Write your definite aim in clear words. Choose affirmations that declare who you are, what you demand, and what you will become. Then speak them with fire. Speak them with persistence. Speak them until your own voice rings with the authority of command. This is the ritual of self-mastery. On the first day, you will feel resistance. Your mind will scoff. Your old thoughts will whisper, "This is foolish. This cannot work." That is because your subconscious has been trained for years to obey fear, doubt, and excuses. It resists new commands, but do not stop, for every repetition weakens the old law and engraves the new. By the 3rd day, doubt will rise. You will hear voices within saying, "This is useless. Nothing is changing." That is the devil himself striving to keep you drifting. He knows the power of 7 days of discipline. He knows that if you persist, you will escape his net. He will send fear, distraction, and excuses. Resist him and continue. By the 5th day, you will feel strength. Your affirmations will no longer sound strange. They will feel natural. You will notice hesitation growing weaker, courage rising stronger. You will sense a shift within, as though your subconscious is beginning to obey. What once felt like words now begins to feel like law. You are shaping identity. By the 7th day, you will feel transformation. Doubt will be quieter, fear weaker, your step firmer, your voice steadier. Those around you will notice before you do. you will command more respect, not because the world has changed, but because your repetition has changed you. And once you have tasted this, you will never be the same. Consider Henry Ford. His V8 engine was declared impossible by his engineers. They failed month after month, year after year. Yet Ford repeated his command, build it. He never allowed doubt to alter his words. He never wavered in his command. And at last, they built it. His wealth came not from genius, but from repetition of a single command. Affirm with me, I persist until I succeed. I speak faith until fear flees. Let these words be your weapon for the 7 days. Repeat them each morning when you rise. Repeat them each night before you sleep. Write them where your eyes will see them. Speak them whenever fear whispers. For persistence in repetition is the shield against drifting. Do not think this trial is small. It is the greatest battle you will fight, for it is the battle with yourself. Most men are slaves to their thoughts, repeating whatever enters without question. Few ever command their thoughts. Those who do rise above the masses. For he who commands his own mind commands his destiny. The subconscious is like a garden. For years you have allowed weeds of fear and doubt to grow unchecked. In 7 days you begin pulling weeds and planting seeds of faith. At first the weeds resist. They are deep-rooted. But with persistence, the new seeds grow. And once faith takes root, the weeds of fear wither away. I warn you, excuses will come. You will say, I am too tired. I forgot. I will do it later. Do not permit them. The devil whispers through excuses. If you yield once, the chain of discipline is broken. The law of repetition demands perfect obedience for 7 days. If you fail, begin again, but do not expect results until you obey fully. Do not tell me you cannot spare 5 minutes twice daily. You give hours to idleness, to complaints, to drifting. Surely you can give minutes to your destiny. If you cannot, then admit to yourself that you prefer poverty, mediocrity, and regret. For 7 days of discipline is the smallest price ever demanded for the greatest reward ever given. By the close of the 7 days, you will stand at a crossroads. You may continue the ritual, extending it into 30 days, 90 days, a lifetime. Or you may return to drifting. But know this, once you have proven the law, you can never again plead ignorance. You will know that repetition writes destiny, and your choice will condemn or exalt you. Affirm once more, I persist until I succeed. I speak faith until fear flees. Say it until it echoes within you. Say it until your subconscious trembles with obedience. Say it until your actions prove it. These are not idle words. They are laws you are writing into your own mind. And once written, they will shape the life you live. Imagine what would happen if you obeyed this law for not just 7 days, but 70. Imagine a year of repetition, a decade of self-command. Imagine what fortunes you would build, what fears you would destroy, what identity you would form. This is how millionaires are made, not by chance, but by commanding their minds daily with repetition. This is the 7-day trial. It is not theory. It is not suggestion. It is law. Begin tonight. Write your affirmations. Speak them with faith. Repeat them without fail for 7 days. And when you feel the change, you will know why I call this the secret weapon of every millionaire. Destiny bends to repetition. 7 days prove it. Fear is the oldest enemy of man and the most persistent. It does not attack with swords or chains, but with whispers. It speaks softly in the mind, repeating doubts, exaggerating dangers, and suggesting retreat. Left unchallenged, these whispers grow until they control the whole man. Fear is not born of reality, but of repetition. Every day fear speaks. It says, you will fail. You are too late. Others will laugh. Poverty will follow you. Illness will strike you. Death is near. These phrases, spoken once, may be brushed aside, but repeated day after day, they sink into the subconscious until the man believes them. He lives as though they were law, though they were lies. The drifting man listens to fear. He repeats its words until they become his creed. He hesitates in opportunity. He submits to mediocrity. He drifts into obscurity. He blames chance or circumstance, but in truth he has enslaved himself by repeating fear. He is not chained by the world, but by the words he has allowed into his own mind. The decisive man conquers fear by turning its weapon against it. He repeats faith. He speaks courage. He commands persistence. Where fear whispers, he answers aloud. Where doubt presses, he declares victory. He knows that repetition is the law of the subconscious, and he chooses to feed faith rather than fear. Thus, fear becomes his servant, not his master. Consider John D. Rockefeller. He was ridiculed, mocked, accused, and hated. The world hurled criticism at him, calling him ruthless, greedy, insane, but he did not repeat their voices. He ignored their ridicule and repeated his aim, to master oil. His faith in his purpose was stronger than the laughter of the crowd. That is why he triumphed. Affirm this with me. I fear nothing. I master fear. I walk boldly toward destiny. Speak it aloud. Speak it until your voice drowns out the whispers of fear. Speak it until your subconscious trembles with obedience, for the subconscious accepts repetition as law. And if you repeat faith, fear has no choice but to flee. In my study of men, I found that fear wears 6 masks: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. These are the 6 ghosts of fear. Each is a shadow, not a substance. Each thrives only when repeated. But once exposed and confronted with repetition of faith, they dissolve like mist before the rising sun. The fear of poverty chains more men than any prison. It silences ambition, lowers standards, and drives men to accept wages far below their worth. Yet poverty itself is not as destructive as the fear of it. Many have begun with nothing and risen to riches. But those who fear poverty never begin, and so they remain enslaved. The fear of criticism prevents men from daring. They long to act, but they tremble at the laughter of others. They remain silent when they should speak, idle when they should move, timid when they should decide. But those who overcome criticism are remembered, while those who feared it are forgotten. Every great man was ridiculed before he was respected. The fear of ill health is a seed planted by imagination. Men repeat suggestions of weakness until they produce sickness. The subconscious, obedient to fear, reproduces what is spoken. But those who affirm strength, vigor, and energy often outlive the fearful by decades. The body is the servant of the mind, and fear of illness creates what it dreads. The fear of loss of love has driven many into jealousy, suspicion, and despair. They repeat phrases of doubt until they poison their own relationships. Yet faith in love, repeated daily, strengthens bonds and produces harmony. Fear destroys what it clings to. Faith multiplies what it cherishes. Thus, even in love, repetition writes destiny. The fear of old age paralyzes men long before their bodies weaken. They repeat, "I am too old. My time is past. The young have taken my place." These words rob them of usefulness while strength still remains. But those who repeat faith say, "I am wise. I am valuable. My years are my wealth." Such men remain powerful until the end. The fear of death is the greatest of all. Men tremble at the natural law that awaits every life. They repeat dread until they waste their days fearing their end instead of fulfilling their purpose. But death is not an enemy. It is merely the final chapter. The true death is to live in fear and waste life unspent. Affirm again, "I fear nothing. I master fear. I walk boldly toward destiny." Say it as your shield. Say it as your sword. Say it until your mind no longer bends to fear. The devil confessed that he cannot control a man who repeats faith daily. Fear is his only weapon. Take it from him, and he is powerless against you. You must confront fear aloud. Do not reason with it silently, for silence is its ally. Name it, expose it, speak against it. When fear of poverty whispers, declare, "Riches are mine, for I demand them." When fear of criticism mocks, declare, "I obey my purpose, not the laughter of men." When fear of death presses, declare, "I live fully until my hour comes." Repeat these declarations daily. Guard your mind from the language of fear as you would guard your home from thieves. Refuse to allow words of weakness to pass your lips. Replace every whisper of doubt with a shout of faith. For repetition is the key. Fear is not conquered by reasoning once, but by affirming faith until it becomes your identity. Edison did not fear failure, or he would have stopped at the 1,000th defeat. Ford did not fear ridicule, or he would have surrendered to his engineers. Carnegie did not fear poverty, or he would have remained a worker. Lincoln did not fear criticism, or he would have abandoned his aim. Their greatness was their courage, repeated daily until it became law. So too must you conquer fear, not once, not occasionally, but daily. For fear returns with each sunrise. It must be banished each morning with affirmations of faith. Say it again now. I fear nothing. I master fear. I walk boldly toward destiny. This is the weapon that slays fear. This is the ritual that builds courage. The drifting man is chained until death by fear. He hesitates, he delays, he excuses, he drifts. He dies whispering, "if only." The decisive man repeats faith, acts with courage, persists with definiteness, and walks boldly. He lives fully, and when death comes, it finds him victorious. Fear is conquered only by faith repeated until it becomes identity. A man becomes what he repeats to himself. Identity is not born of birth or fortune, but of repetition. Each word spoken with faith chisels the image of character. Day after day, thought becomes belief. Belief becomes habit. Habit becomes destiny. Thus, the law is clear. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The drifting man repeats excuses until he believes them. He says, "I am unlucky. I am too weak. I was not chosen. I am cursed." With each repetition, his subconscious accepts the command. Soon he no longer questions it. He lives as though it were truth. Though it was only a lie he repeated into law. He becomes his excuses. The decisive man repeats affirmations of power until he becomes power. He says, "I am disciplined. I am courageous. I am destined for riches." At first his words may feel strange, like clothes that do not fit. But with repetition, they mold to his soul. The subconscious accepts them, and he becomes the man he declared himself to be. Thomas Edison was called a fool. 10,000 failures mocked him. Newspapers called him a dreamer chasing shadows. But Edison's self-talk was stronger than their voices. He said to himself, "I will succeed. I will find the way. I will not quit." He repeated it daily until it became his very identity. He became persistence embodied. Abraham Lincoln was defeated in business, defeated in elections, defeated in love. He was mocked, ridiculed, and rejected. But he repeated a single aim, to preserve the Union. That repetition burned into his character until he could not betray it. Defeat could not erase it. Criticism could not drown it. It became his identity and his destiny. Affirm this now. I am disciplined. I am courageous. I am destined for riches. Say it with conviction. Repeat it until it no longer feels like a wish, but a fact. For every repetition is a blow upon the subconscious. And when the subconscious accepts it, it shapes your actions, your habits, your character. Identity is forged by repetition. Do not think identity is fixed by fate. It is fixed by words. You may have been born in poverty, but if you repeat, "I am poor, I am weak, I am nothing," you will remain so. If you repeat, "I am strong, I am wealthy, I am destined," you will rise. Birth gives you nothing but breath. Repetition gives you identity. The devil enslaves men by convincing them to repeat weakness. He whispers, You are too late. You are too small. You are too broken. Men repeat it until they believe it. They become prisoners of their own speech. The chains that hold them are not of iron, but of words. But faith breaks those chains by repeating new identity until it becomes law. Rockefeller repeated frugality, industry, and definiteness until he became the master of oil. Carnegie repeated boldness and organization until he became the master of steel. Ford repeated persistence and vision until he became the master of automobiles. Each man became what he repeated. Their identity was not chance. It was spoken daily into existence. I command you, shape your identity deliberately. Write affirmations that declare who you will become. Repeat them morning and night. Say them until your subconscious obeys. Live as though they were already true. In time, the world will see in you what you first spoke in secret. The law does not fail. Identity is repetition made flesh. Affirm again, I am disciplined. I am courageous. I am destined for riches. Do not ask if it is true. Make it true by repetition. The subconscious does not require proof. It requires command. Repeat it long enough, and it will gather evidence to match your words. Your life will bend to confirm the law you spoke. The drifting man scoffs at this. He says, words cannot change who I am. Yet he proves himself wrong daily, for he is already the product of words. His self-pity, his doubts, his excuses are words he repeated until they shaped him. If words can make him weak, why should they not also make him strong? The law is impartial. I have seen timid men become bold, lazy men become industrious, failures become leaders, all by changing the words they repeated. They wrote new affirmations, spoke them daily, persisted in them, and their subconscious reshaped their character. They became the men they declared themselves to be. Destiny obeys repetition. This is why the 7-day ritual is so powerful. It is not merely speaking words, it is writing identity. Each day of repetition plants a seed of character. In 7 days, you feel the sprout. In 30 days, you see growth. In 90 days, you are transformed. Persistence in repetition builds a new man, a new destiny. Do not underestimate this law. Kings are crowned by repetition. Leaders are forged by repetition. Millionaires are built by repetition. They do not drift into greatness. They repeat greatness until it becomes their identity. You must do the same. Refuse to speak weakness. Refuse to repeat fear. Speak only faith, courage, and definiteness until you embody them. Say once more with me, I am disciplined. I am courageous. I am destined for riches. Say it now. Say it tomorrow. Say it until your voice no longer quivers, until your subconscious no longer resists, until your actions prove it. This is not wishful thinking. This is the law of identity through repetition. And the law never fails. No man rises alone. Every fortune, every empire, every invention, every movement of greatness has been born of minds united in harmony. This I have called the mastermind principle. When 2 or more minds meet in a spirit of faith and definiteness, they generate a third invisible mind, greater than any single one, and through it, infinite intelligence speaks. Andrew Carnegie confessed that his wealth was not his genius alone, but the combined genius of his mastermind group. He surrounded himself with men of skill, knowledge, and courage. Their counsel, repeated daily in harmony, became a chorus of definiteness that bent the steel industry to their will. Alone, he was one man. With them, he was an empire. Henry Ford proved the same law. He did not walk alone. He aligned with Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and others of vision. They met often, exchanged ideas, reinforced each other's faith. Their fellowship was not idle talk. It was repetition of belief, persistence of vision, and mutual command. Together, they drew inventions and industries from the unseen into the seen. Affirm with me now, I surround myself with minds of faith. I attract allies of courage. Together we rise, speak it with conviction, for it is not merely a phrase, but a command to your subconscious. It will guide you to the right companions. Attract those who share your definiteness, and repel those who would weaken your resolve. Beware the wrong associations. One negative voice in your circle can poison the entire alliance. Words of doubt, repeated daily, corrode faith as rust corrodes iron. A single critic permitted to speak can undo months of progress. Choose your companions as carefully as you would choose surgeons, for they hold in their hands the life of your purpose. I have seen men of promise destroyed by their company. Surrounded by the envious, the fearful, and the drifting, their faith withered. Their affirmations were drowned out by ridicule. But I have also seen ordinary men lifted into greatness by a single ally of faith. One voice of courage can strengthen 10 weak hearts. One true mastermind outweighs 100 empty friendships. The mastermind principle is not metaphor, but law. Just as two notes create harmony beyond the single sound, two minds united in faith create a power neither could summon alone. That harmony attracts infinite intelligence. Ideas appear that none of the individuals conceived separately. Inspiration flows, plans unfold, courage multiplies. It is the unseen power of alignment. Carnegie's empire was a monument to this principle. He selected his partners not only for knowledge, but for harmony. He knew that discord destroyed power, while unity multiplied it. By surrounding himself with men who repeated definiteness, he created an atmosphere in which even the impossible became possible. His fortune was the child of alignment. I command you now, form your own mastermind. Do not delay. Seek out at least one ally of faith, definiteness, and courage. Unite your purposes. Meet often. Share your affirmations aloud. Encourage each other in persistence. For two voices repeating faith in harmony create a force that compels destiny. This is the weapon that multiplies your power. Affirm again. I surround myself with minds of faith. I attract allies of courage. Together we rise. Let this command draw men to you. The subconscious, when ordered with definiteness, guides your steps and attracts those in harmony with your aim. In time, you will find your circle forming, and with it, new strength you could never have summoned alone. Examine your present circle. Who speaks words of courage? Who repeats words of fear? Who strengthens your faith? Who weakens it? Have the courage to separate from those who poison your subconscious with doubt. Better to walk with one ally of faith than a crowd of drifters, for one man of purpose is more valuable than 1,000 without it. When Ford, Edison, and Firestone gathered, they did not waste time with idle chatter. They spoke their aims, their visions, their challenges. They repeated faith to one another until it became law among them. Each left those meetings stronger, more certain, more definite. That is why they triumphed. Their mastermind repeated destiny until it became reality. You too must gather such men. Do not complain if you do not yet know them. Begin with one. Share your affirmations. Speak them together. Encourage each other daily. That repetition, multiplied by harmony, will summon more allies. Infinite intelligence rewards those who begin where they are and trust the law to add strength as they persist. Guard your mastermind with vigilance. If envy, selfishness, or discord enters, cut it off at once. Harmony is essential. Without it, the alliance collapses. But with it, no power on earth can defeat you. Two men in perfect harmony, repeating definiteness daily, are stronger than armies. The devil himself flees from such unity, for it is beyond his control. Affirm once more, I surround myself with minds of faith. I attract allies of courage. Together we rise. Repeat it until your subconscious believes it. Repeat it until your speech and conduct draw such men to you. Repeat it until your life is filled with companions who echo your faith and reinforce your purpose. for your circle will decide your destiny. The drifting man says, I can do it alone. He refuses alliance. He drifts in isolation until his strength fails. He believes himself independent, but he is merely weak. The decisive man humbles himself, seeks allies, builds harmony, multiplies power. He becomes irresistible, for his words are echoed by many voices, and infinite intelligence speaks through their unity. I tell you the truth. No millionaire ever built his fortune alone. No leader ever shaped history alone. No inventor ever triumphed alone. Each aligned with others, repeated definiteness daily, and drew from the invisible source through harmony. That is why their names endure. That is why their fortunes multiplied. That is why their works remain. You too may join them if you obey this law. Begin now. Seek one ally. Share your affirmations. Repeat faith together. Build harmony. In time, your mastermind will grow, and with it, your power. Infinite intelligence will meet you halfway. Ideas will come, opportunities will appear, doors will open, for destiny bends to the chorus of harmony. Words alone are not enough. Repetition alone is not enough. The world does not yield to a man who repeats a phrase for a day and then forgets it. The subconscious does not bow to one command and then dismiss it. Destiny is not moved by fleeting enthusiasm. It is moved by persistence, repetition continued until it becomes law. Many men begin with fire, but the flame fades quickly. They write affirmations, speak them with passion for a week, and then abandon the practice when results do not appear at once. They say, this does not work. Nothing is changing. They drift back into old habits, repeating fear instead of faith. Their failure is not in the law, but in their persistence. The subconscious resists change, for it is bound by years of old commands. To overwrite those commands requires persistence. Just as water wears away stone by constant dripping, so do affirmations engrave the mind by constant repetition. The man who persists becomes master. The man who quits becomes servant. This is the law of persistence. Consider again R.U. Darby. He abandoned the mine 3 feet from gold. His failure was not ignorance of opportunity, but lack of persistence. Yet in insurance, he transformed. Each time a prospect refused, he said to himself, I stopped once, but I will never stop again. That repetition of persistence became his creed, and fortune followed him. Affirm with me, I persist in speaking faith. I persist until I succeed. I persist until destiny bends. Say it not once, but daily. Say it not for a week, but for life. For persistence is the proof of desire. If you abandon your affirmations when doubt rises, you never truly desired victory. But if you persist, victory is certain. Abraham Lincoln endured failure after failure. He lost elections, lost money, lost friends. Yet he persisted in repeating his aim, to serve his country, to preserve the Union. Defeat did not silence him. Criticism did not discourage him. He persisted, and that persistence carried him to the presidency. Without it, he would have been forgotten. The drifting man speaks faith when he feels strong, but abandons it when adversity comes. His affirmations are weathered by storms. He believes when fortune smiles, but doubts when fortune frowns. Such a man gains nothing, for his persistence is weak. He does not fail because the law is false, but because his obedience is fragile. The decisive man persists regardless of feeling. He repeats affirmations when tired, when discouraged, when defeated. He speaks faith even when faith feels absent. He continues until the subconscious surrenders, until the old commands are erased, until new identity is engraved. That is why he triumphs. Persistence is the test of his desire. The devil fears persistence more than anything. He confessed it. Drifting men fall easily into his net, but persistent men break free. For persistence is proof of definiteness. It is proof of faith. It is proof of courage. The devil cannot defeat a man who refuses to stop repeating faith. He flees before such men, powerless to enslave them. Affirm again, I persist in speaking faith. I persist until I succeed. I persist until destiny bends. Each repetition strengthens your will. Each declaration deepens your habit. Each command engraves your subconscious more firmly. Do not stop when results are unseen. Continue, and in time, the world will obey the law written within you. Persistence is the price of all transformation. You cannot build muscle in a day, nor wealth in a week, nor character in a month. These are forged through years of repetition. So too with affirmations. Each day builds upon the last. Each repetition compounds. And in time you awaken to find yourself transformed, not by chance, but by persistence. Look to Edison. He failed thousands of times, yet persisted. Look to Ford. He persisted in building the V8 engine, though his engineers called it impossible. Look to Rockefeller. He persisted in controlling oil despite criticism and hatred. Each man triumphed not because of talent alone, but because of persistence in repeating his aim until it became reality. The drifting man says, I tried, but it did not work. He does not see that quitting is the proof it was working, for resistance always rises before victory. The decisive man says, I will persist until I succeed. He continues despite resistance, and in the end, resistance yields. The world surrenders to persistence. This is the law. I command you, persist beyond resistance. Persist when results are unseen. Persist when fear whispers. Persist when critics laugh. Persist when friends doubt. Persist when you doubt yourself. For persistence is not an emotion. It is a decision. Decide now that you will persist in speaking faith until destiny bends. Affirm once more, I persist in speaking faith. I persist until I succeed. I persist until destiny bends. Make this your daily creed. Write it, speak it, live it, and refuse to abandon it. For persistence in repetition will write a new identity upon your subconscious, and that identity will command a new destiny. The time for theory is over. The hour of command has arrived. You have heard the laws: desire, faith, decision, persistence, repetition, the mastermind, and victory over fear. But knowledge alone will not save you. Knowledge unused is the property of the drifter. Only action gives it life. Tonight you must act. Tonight you must begin. 7 days, that is the test. 7 days of repetition, 7 days of affirmations spoken morning and night, 7 days of guarding your tongue from weakness and filling it with definiteness. Do not say, I will begin tomorrow. Tomorrow is the excuse of cowards. Begin tonight. Begin now. For delay is drifting, and drifting is death to destiny. Take pen and paper. Write your definite chief aim in clear words. Write the affirmations that declare your new identity. Write them as commands, not wishes. Then place them where your eyes will see them daily. Read them aloud with faith. Repeat them with fire. Speak them until they are burned into your subconscious as law. Affirm this with me. I claim my destiny. I repeat greatness until I become greatness. I command my mind and life obeys. Say it until your voice no longer quivers. Say it until your subconscious accepts it as fact. Say it until your actions align with your words. For repetition with persistence transforms affirmations into identity, and identity into destiny. Think of Carnegie, who repeated his vision of steel until an empire rose. Think of Edison, who repeated belief in his invention until light shone across the world. Think of Ford, who repeated his dream of an automobile for the masses until the world rolled upon wheels. Think of Schwab, who repeated his boldness until United States Steel was born. None of these men relied on chance. None waited for fortune to smile. They commanded themselves daily. They repeated definiteness until it became instinct. Their subconscious accepted it. Their actions followed it. Their destinies fulfilled it. This is the secret weapon of every millionaire. Words repeated until they become law. Guard your tongue. From this moment forward, refuse to speak weakness. Do not permit words of fear, doubt, or excuse to escape your lips. For every word you speak is a seed planted in the soil of the subconscious. If you plant fear, you will reap fear. If you plant faith, you will reap faith. Speak only what you desire to harvest. Surround yourself with allies who echo your affirmations. One voice of doubt can poison your subconscious, but one voice of faith can strengthen you in moments of weakness. Form your mastermind. Speak your affirmations together. Repeat them in harmony. Infinite intelligence responds to harmony, and through it you will receive ideas, plans, and courage greater than your own. Confront your fears daily. Name them aloud. Speak against them with affirmations of faith. When poverty whispers, declare, "Riches are mine, for I demand them." When criticism rises, declare, "I obey my aim, not the laughter of men." When death or old age frightens, declare, "I live fully until my hour comes." In this way, repetition defeats fear. Do not expect instant results. Seeds take time to grow. Muscles take time to strengthen. So too does the subconscious take time to accept new commands. But if you persist, if you obey the 7-day test, you will feel the first shift. And once you taste that power, you will never return to drifting. You will know the law is true. The next 7 days decide your future. If you obey, you begin a new life of definiteness, faith, and persistence. If you refuse, you remain as you are, drifting, repeating weakness, chained by fear, buried in mediocrity. The choice is yours. I cannot make it for you. No man can. You must choose, and you must choose now. Affirm again, "I claim my destiny." I repeat greatness until I become greatness. I command my mind, and life obeys. This is your final command. Speak it daily. Live it hourly. Let it govern your thoughts, your speech, your actions. For what you repeat, you become, and what you become determines what you receive from life. This is not suggestion. This is not hope. This is law. Destiny bends to repetition. Faith is born of repetition. Persistence is sustained by repetition. Identity is forged by repetition. Every millionaire, every leader, every man of greatness has used this weapon. And now it is in your hands. Use it and you rise. Neglect it and you fall. The test is before you. 7 days. Will you obey? Will you discipline yourself to speak affirmations morning and night? Will you guard your tongue from weakness? Will you persist despite resistance? Will you confront fear with faith? Will you command your subconscious until it accepts your words as law? If you will, then riches, confidence, and destiny await. This is your final command. Act now. Begin tonight. Write your affirmations. Speak them with faith. Repeat them without fail for 7 days. Guard your words. Surround yourself with faith. Confront fear. Persist in repetition. For this ritual is the secret weapon of every millionaire. And the only question left is, will you obey?
Thank you for listening until the end. You've proven you're serious about growth. Most people drift away, but you stayed, and that shows commitment. The next step is simple. Don't let this just be inspiration. Apply Hill's teachings daily and make them part of who you are.